Hi, Lori here. My company's called the Goodbye Good Girl Project, and this is my very first live on YouTube. I wanted to talk to you about something that is so important to me and so important to all of us, and to give you hope and to be a part of the voices that are out here on YouTube demonstrating how many of us are distressed and frankly unaccepting of what's going on in the US because uh, we want to move into a different era. We've got to move out of the old system. We've got to move out of the masculine only system, and we've got to move out of believing that what we've been told to believe in is all that we have, when in fact we are so powerful, beyond powerful, but more powerful than we can even really conceive of easily right now. Now, if you are somebody who has been involved in spiritual stuff for a long time, you will recognize names like Abraham Hicks, Mike Dooley, Joe Dispenza, things like that. And if you are not involved in things like that, you might not be as familiar with what I'm going to say. But what I want to provide for you are two different ways that you can make a serious difference in what's happening in our country. And the magic of this is also that you will be making such a huge difference in your own life that you'll be shocked. I know that I was. I know that we've been enculturated to believe that we don't really have much power, that we can't really change things, and that includes us. It's not true. It's actually not true. But it's very, very challenging to believe that we can actually make changes, say, in our health or even in our mindset. That just seems impossible. I know for years and years and years, I thought there's no way. I can't change the way that I think, and I don't want to police my thoughts to go in alignment with that thoughts become things sort of situation. Even though that kind of made sense to me, I was like, well, does that mean I have to police everything I think? I've gone through a very long 40-year journey discovering what it is to be truly powerful, and also a journey that has to do with the feminine. We need the feminine so badly. Feminine aspects, things like compassion, creativity, community building, emotional savvy, understanding, creativity. We need to bring in intuition, inspiration. We need to bring in so much that is feminine. And what we've had forever is a masculine only way of being. Go for the goal. Don't think about process as much unless it has to do with the goal. Don't think of process as its own reward. And we've been shamed for being feminine. We've been shamed for having emotion. And we've been shamed for a lot of different ways of being, of caring for people first in a corporate setting. We've been shamed for that. When in fact, it's been proven time and time again, although it's not really put out there very much, but it's been proven time and time again that if you look to people first, you look to take care of the people, then you are going to massively shift your business. And caring about people, caring about the entire structure, the entire humanity of what we're doing in any kind of teamwork is an extremely feminine viewpoint. And it doesn't mean that we let go of having goals, but we're so immersed in the toxic masculine that we women and the men, but I'm talking to the women, we women have imbibed all of the poison. We've normalized it and we've made it us. So we're doing the work of the so-called abuser, meaning the messages. We're doing the work of the abusive stuff for them, for it. Now I'm talking about things like the ads that we see every day, the things that we are told are, well, it's just a joke, when really it's very damaging to our self-image and to how we feel about ourselves day to day and throughout our lives. So there is really nothing more important on this planet as far as a mission for me than helping women see differently. Take off the glasses, put on the glasses, whichever it is that you see. Like, oh, I've been wearing the rose-colored glasses, I need to take off the glasses, or I've just accepted things and I haven't put on my glasses to see what's real. Seeing what's real gives us an understanding of who we are and what we can have and ask for in our lives. We are extremely set to think that we have to put ourselves last, or maybe even not be in the room at all. You know what I mean? And that won't do. But knowing this stuff, this is just the first place. It's not by any means the last place to know this stuff. Now, and I will get to what the two aspects we can take care of to make a serious difference in the US. But this is the knowing, but then you have to have the experience. You have to experience yourself differently. You have to experience yourself as a strong woman. And that can mean experience yourself speaking up, experience yourself saying a sentence to somebody. I mean, in your imagination even can be really challenging. I'm not talking about you suddenly putting on armor and going up to the most difficult person you know and trying to be brave suddenly. You know, I'm talking about using exercises and ways of doing things that you can practice stepping out of your norms. You can practice stepping out of, oh, well, this is just who I am. It's not just who you are. You are limitless. You are literally limitless. So let me tell you what I mean, because your limitlessness comes from one of the two incredibly powerful forward pieces of movement that you have to make a huge difference at this really distressing time in our country's history. And that is your energy, your emotional energy, your feeling, your sensing of things, who you are in your everyday life is what goes out and impacts the world. It impacts what is possible for you in your life. It either attracts or repels the things that you want to be able to see and to have a hold of, like money, career, love, peace, mental wellness, you name it. And what we have not been taught is how to work with this and actually watch ourselves transform, not just have a different thought and hope it makes a difference, but transform throughout our entire energetic, emotional being and watch the changes within and watch the resultant changes without. It is something that a lot of spiritual people already know the concept of, but then the question is how? How do we do this? How do we experience this new strength? How do we get out there and be who we really wish we were? It's very frustrating to be on the spiritual path for decades and go, I'm still not getting it, or I'm still having struggles with being powerful. I'm still having struggles with my mental wellness. I'm still having struggles with my relationships. It's really frustrating to go, I know the truth. And then we fall into this idea that, oh, I have to fix me. And that's not true either. You don't have to fix anything. There's actually, in a fundamental way, at your core, there's nothing wrong with you. What's happening to some degree in everybody is, I believe, is that, and that I've experienced, is that we have practiced and practiced and practiced focusing on the thoughts and the feelings and the sensings that are the most distressing. thinking erroneously that if we know what they are, we can finally fix them and we'll be okay. And it's really difficult for us to believe that we can focus on what's right and make a difference, make a change within ourselves. We find that almost impossible to believe. It sounds nice, but how do we do that? How do we freaking do that? So I went looking for that answer a long time ago, and I will tell you what happened. But first, I want to say to you that when you change your emotional set point, and again, if you know and have listened to Abraham Hicks, this will sound very familiar to you. If you can change your emotional set point, if you can put out an energy that is naturally at a higher vibration, because happier feelings vibrate faster than the unhappier feelings. So when you can vibrate a little bit higher, you are not only shifting your emotional reality and opening your life to wonderful things that may not have been available to you before, but you are also elevating the entire humanity, because with each of us, I'm sorry I keep doing this to my nose, but I've got a little bit of a cold, I think. So what happens is, as we lift our energy, we're not responsible for lifting the whole. That's not our job. Our job is to lift our own energy and let that resultant energetic do its thing. Energetics do their thing. We don't have to control it. We don't have to manipulate it. No, we don't have to do that heavy lifting. But what's happening in our country is a conglomeration of our energies, and it's also the real panic point of greed and lies and manipulation, and it is really frightening. I know. So it calls to us on a human level. It says to us, be afraid, be afraid. The problem is, while we are allowed and need to feel what we feel, we then need to have the method to start to raise out of that, rise out of it. I'm not talking about going from terror to, I'm so happy, everything's fine. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something else. And again, I will talk to you about that in a minute. But just get the concept that if we start to rise a little bit, just rise a little bit, it's like adding water into a bathtub. The bathtub level rises. That's how it works. It is the physics reality of our world. And understanding that as a concept, understanding that here first, that's good. That's important. Okay, then we need to know, how do we raise our energy, and how much do we have to raise it, and how hard is that, and what does it require? We need to know these things so we can do these things. So if that calls to you, then that is one way of doing the revolutionary, evolutionary work around what's happening in our country and what is going to usher us into the new paradigm. The other way is empowerment. For women in this culture, this is not a no-brainer. And I want you to understand that from my perspective, there's nothing to be ashamed of when we suddenly discover, my God, I'm not that powerful. I'm not being powerful. Because what has happened is such an integrated sense of, here are all these rules and regulations, here are all these expectations, here are all these beliefs that I've been given from the time I emerged into this world, that this is what we've practiced, and it is ongoing. It doesn't stop with your childhood. Let's say you've been traumatized in your childhood. It doesn't stop there. We are re-traumatized to the extent every day that we see ads and movies which reflect, and they all do, or, like 99.9% of them do reflect the expectations and the system structure of saying that the masculine is the most wonderful thing. It's the goal, it's the best. And the feminine, good luck with that. It's allowable in certain ways, like you can be sexy and you can be cute and you can be young and you can be likable and effable and things like that. But good God help you if you are strong and you speak and you have your own voice. So we get programmed. And I'm going to give you an example. I was texting with a friend of mine yesterday, and I was telling her about one way to really annoy Google, because the whole Gulf of America thing is insulting on just every level. And there is a way to go in and into Google Maps and search for Gulf of Mexico, and it'll come up as Gulf of America, which, by the way, so that's not how it's showing up in other countries. It shows up as Gulf of Mexico in other countries because they're not bending to a dump truck. We are. The guy at the top of Facebook is, and it's heinous. It's ridiculous. So anyway, there is a way to go in there and say, this is incorrect information, and give feedback, and also leave a message. And so I learned that from somebody else on YouTube, and I went out and did a thing on TikTok, and other people were telling me, yep, it's a thing. Lots of people are doing it, and that's wonderful. So I shared it with my friend, and she said, oh, I did that yesterday. I wish I could do it again. I said, why can't you do it again? Why would you limit yourself? Do it 10 times. And she went, oh, this is a far from stupid woman. This is a brilliant woman. But this is the kind of, there's the sneaky little spaces that we've been enculturated to play small, to not see the possibilities, to not look around the corners and go, am I seeing this correctly? Is there some other way that I can see my possibilities, that I can expand who I am and what I do and the difference that I make? You do not have to be a loud person to do this. You do not have to be an extrovert to do this. You do not have to be an angry woman to do this. But you do have to be excited about the prospect of being all of who you came here to be. And you know as well as I do that being able to do that it's not a small ask. It's not, because of our conditioning. So the work that I've done and the work that the Good by Good Girl Project does is educate about this kind of perspective, because we are leaving an entire paradigm in which there is power over instead of power with. We're leaving a paradigm where the white man, in all of the greed and all of the wealth and everything, gets to have their say. But we're only going to leave it if we use our voices, if we start to just raise our energy just a little bit at a time. You would be amazed how insanely powerful raising your emotional energetics by 1% is. It's 10,000 times stronger than staying where you are. So I don't know if you're aware of this, but there is something called the ladder of emotions. And you can look that up now use DuckDuckGo, not Google. Use DuckDuckGo, because it doesn't track you like Google does. Google tracks the crap out of you. Google goes, hey, let me see what you've been up to, and let me, market the heck out of you. DuckDuckGo doesn't do that. So use it. Now I forgot what I was telling you to go and look up, but of course you've also got Bing, and you've got different kinds of search places that you can go. So it's important that we take this very 3D aspect and start getting away from Google. Now I know I think Google owns YouTube. So this is ironic, isn't it? But there you go. This is how it all starts, is communicating with each other. And a lot of people are doing it. And I want it to be a voice of transformation and passion and peace and education online for those who are like me, needing to have voices of care and love and clarity and reality and honesty. So I thought, well, I better just jump online and do something, because we all need each other. And it's not, forget any reservations that I might have about, do I have everything set up perfectly? Who cares? Let me just talk to you. And anybody who sees this, that is helped by it, that makes me really gratified. That's a wonderful thing. So here we are in the middle of all this crap. And when it comes to our empowerment as women, what we're doing when we rise a bit, when we start to take our power, when we start to realize, I can do this thing, what happens is the energy of the lighter energy, which is 10,000 times stronger than the dark, resonates into your life, but it also resonates out to the entire world. Now, spiritually, you've heard this idea, we're all one. We're all in this together. What's happening in our country, what's happening in our world, is an invitation for us to say, if I was ever going to dare to try to understand how to be my powerful self in even the smallest of ways, understanding that each woman doing it just in the smallest of ways means insane amounts of power, this would be the moment. This is the moment. So what does that mean? What does that mean to elevate your emotion? Well, I have something that's called the 1% solution. But before I mention that, let me just say, little things are really the biggest. They're the easiest to do. They're the easiest to do on a repetitive basis, and they're the easiest to do day by day. So there is an app that you can find on your phone called 5 Calls, like the number 5 calls. And it's a super easy app which says, which of these issues do you want to talk to your representatives about? And you go, I want this one. And then it says, okay, here are the 3 people or 2 people, whatever it is that you need to talk to. Here's the number, push this, dial the number, boom, you're done. And because they're being so overwhelmed with calls these days, if it is a Republican, you want to remind them, it's going to be what do you call it? You're going to leave a message, right? They don't have enough volunteers to answer the phones. They can't keep up with it. In regular times, more regular than this, it was maybe, I think the number was 150 calls a minute. Now, right now it's 1,500. Yeah. So you're not going to be talking to a person. Now, I did talk to a person when I called the Attorney General's office on one of the things I was calling about. But the others, I just leave messages every day going, frickin' do something. I am your constituent too. It doesn't matter that I'm not Republican. It matters that I'm a human, and you're not standing up to all of this insane law breaking. Like, what the hell? All right. So you can leave these messages. They can be quick. They can be long. They give you a script. So you don't even have to make up your own words. Doing that every day, making 2 calls a day, forget 5 calls, doing 2 calls a day, and calling your Democratic representatives and saying, please keep up the fight. Thank you so much. Thank you and I know you may feel like they're not doing anything. I understand. I get that. But then I learned that a couple of things. One is that they have been going to the courts and putting things in place that are being, so things that dump truck and muskrat are doing are being stopped, or, being paused. It doesn't feel like it. I understand. Trust me, I spend a lot of time learning to continue to focus on, it's the focus that's the learning part right now for me, to focus on, okay, how do I feel? Let me keep feeling better. Let me keep feeling better, because I know this lifts me. It helps me see more that I can do and be, and it helps me not get sucked under into the fear. And it helps rise all the boats. So, I mean, win, 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 win everywhere. Oh, God. But the other thing is, the Democratic leaders are caught in the same system that you and I are in. And for them to see outside of the system, for them to think outside of the box, is really challenging. I mean, their entire job is to think inside the box. So you and I are the power structure now. You and I are the ones that have to think outside the box. And that, like, okay, let me give you this wonderful example. And I forget, dang it, which building it was, but Muskrat and his little boy band of neo-Nazis pulled up in front of a building, but somebody knew they were coming and put out the word. And all of these people had already showed up to stand in front of this government building with their signs going, hell no. And when Muskrat and boys pulled up, they went, oh no, I'm scared, and they left. It seems so simple. And you know what? It really is. The toxic masculine structures tell us that everything has to be freaking complex. But when you bring in the balance of the feminine, you get clarity of vision. You get more simplicity, as far as not playing convoluted games that left the feminine out long ago. You know how it is, like you'll see a family out, and the father is, now I know there are good fathers out there, but this is what I see a lot. I see a lot of fathers who they're like sitting there like, well, what do you want me to do about it? And the woman's like, ugh, and she comes and she does one thing, and boom, they're all back on track. That's the feminine. That's one of the powers of the feminine. And it's strong, and it's direct, and it's clear. And we have given up our feminine, we women. That's hard to understand, but we've given up the power and the strength of the feminine. We've given up our self-respect. I've been there, I've done it. I see now when I do it, and I go, no, I'm not doing that again. And that's what it takes. It takes a community. It takes us working together to start to practice a completely new system that is not top down or bottom up. It is circular. It is all of us together. This culture we're in here in the US is so freaking toxic. Between the guns and everybody going, I want money more than I want my child safe in kindergarten. What a bunch of bull. Like, this is absolutely counter to human life. And we've been lazy, and I count myself a part of that. But we have not stood up. We have not seen that there is this system, and we have not seen, if we have seen the system, we have not seen or believed that it is changeable, that it is not based in concrete. But it is not based in concrete. It is not. We can change it. Now, I'm seeing that I've been on here for 29 minutes and 18, 19, 20 seconds. And I don't know if this thing is going to stop when I'm at 30 minutes, because I think I'm on like a trial or something. So if it does, it does, and I'll come back on another time. But I will also leave information in here for those of you who this really speaks to. And if you would like to talk to me, I'll have my email and all the rest of that kind of good stuff in there. And for those of you who would like to actually experience breaking into your strong self, your confident self, I'll have that in there as well. Okay. Here it comes. 30 minutes. Is it taking me out? No, it's not. Yay. Okay. Still, um, it's it's the how that we need to understand in order to take our power. And it is also a strong desire not to let ourselves and our country go down the spigot. Something I learned recently, I guess it was probably a couple months ago, I started going onto YouTube and watching all of these um, tarot psychics and things like that. And it was so reassuring to me because it wasn't the focus on the thing that drags you down, you know, the things that drag me down, like, oh, it's a nightmare. It's never going to end. He's getting away with it and blah, 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 blah. And a lot of them are saying that within a number of months, it is quite possible that the real facts will come out about the election because it was clearly stolen with the help of Russia and the help of Muskrat and his money. And so they're saying their prediction, their reading is that that information will come out. We'll have to have a redo, and that sounds good to me. So why does that matter? You know, like, what if you're sitting there going, well, that's nuts. That's never going to freaking happen. No, we're in for 4 years of hell. Here's how I find that that is helpful for me, is it does raise me up that emotional ladder. And it keeps me from being despairing or depressed. And that's important because any power structure like they're trying to wield wants you to feel powerless. They want you to give up. And I'm damned if I'll do that for anybody, and certainly not for these bozos. No, not happening. Not happening. So challenge yourself. Ask yourself, what is it that I could do? One thing that I could do. And then think about how important it is that the people you love retain their Social Security, that you and all of the people you know retain your privacy to your Social Security number and all of your private information that Muskrat decided he would just walk in and take. How important is that to you? And I know that it can feel daunting, but if you can come at this from a perspective of, I'm not responsible for the whole of it, but I'm responsible for the rising of me. And I can do one thing each day that starts to prove to myself that I am limitless. I am power. I'm not just powerful, I am power. If you are fortunate enough to remember a time in your childhood when you felt magnified, you felt, I can do anything, that was true. The only thing that stopped you at that point was you were a kid and you didn't have your full personal agency then. Well, guess what? You do now. And I was going to tell you about the 1% solution. This, I won't go into it. It is something that I coach in, but I'm not going to go into it. But I will tell you how it came about. In 2022, I was having a nervous breakdown. And in the middle of the night, as I thought I was going to have to go to the emergency room because I was in danger of hurting myself, I was listening to Abraham Hicks and I was saying to myself, I got nothing. I've got no resilience left. And I realized that there was something about Abraham that Abraham does. If you haven't watched Abraham Hicks, check it out. And they're called rampages. And this is not screaming, carrying on. This is rampages of mercy, rampages of love, rampages of forgiveness. When what they do is they ramp up that emotional stuff. Now, Abraham, which is a bunch of channeled beings that comes through a woman named Esther Hicks, they do not give instructions on how to do your own rampages. At least I've never seen it. Maybe they do. I've never seen it. But as I laid there 2:30 in the morning, July of 2022, going, I do not want to die. I picked up a journal. I said, I'm going to try. I got nothing else. I'm going to try to do this. So I started writing, and I did the best I could. And whenever I'd be stuck, I'd hear Abraham say something that was exactly what I needed to hear. It was magic. This went on for hours. Every time I got stuck, at that same exact instant, I would hear Abraham saying something that was like, oh, that's a great idea. Let me go from that perspective. Now, I say it went on for hours. It went on for days. But let me tell you the most amazing thing. After 10 minutes, just 10 minutes, I was no longer in danger. Now, I had had clinical depression and anxiety for over 38 years. Okay. And all I'd ever been able to do with it was therapy, group therapy, and medication. But every single day I was aware of that black cloud, that inky black sort of pit that I could fall in at any moment. It always was there, sort of calling me, come on, come on. Every day for over 38 years of my life. Talk about being pissed off. So here it was, though. After 10 minutes, I had shifted that experience with my will and my effort and my awareness and focusing on how I felt. If you have struggled with clinical depression, you will know how incredibly, insanely, ridiculously big that is. Over the course of the next 5 days, I did nothing but write. I just wrote. And 5 is not a magic number. It's just that I noticed at the end of 5 days that something was different. The depression was just gone. It was gone. If I can do that, I said to myself, what else can't I do? And so I've worked with it over the last 2.5 years for other situations, other things to lift myself, to bring myself up, to understand why I would want to lift myself, to understand what it actually does, to understand how it actually works, to get past all of the beliefs and the doubts that I have because of the system that we've been raised in. But this is my big mission now, is to help you understand that when you do the things you do, the little things you do that show you, I've just stepped this much beyond what I thought I could do, be, or say, you have actually reset who you are closer to who you really are. It's exciting stuff. And I'll leave you with one last thought. Greg Braden, the amazing teacher and physicist, says that it only takes 8% of the world's population to awaken to this kind of power for the world to shift instantly, overnight, literally. I thought for sure he'd say 35% or 52%, 8%. And it's in the little steps. It's in the process. It's not in the, am I there yet? Which is the masculine. Nothing wrong with the divine masculine. I love a good goal. Love them. They make me feel good. But I've had to learn to bring back the feminine and be in process and find the rewards and the awakenings and the instinctual sort of openings of my consciousness and my life from being in this process now and now and now and now and now. That is spirituality. Exciting stuff. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to put information in here so that you know how to get in touch with me, and I will see you another time. Have a good week. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle as you can. We need that, don't we? We do. We really do. All right. Love and